Good evening, friends. Welcome to India Power Talk. India Power Talk is a knowledge sharing initiative. We invite international thought leaders and domain experts to share their insights, experiences, and strategies related to business and the economy. Our topic today is global, but with a special relevance to India's future, social entrepreneurship, and new human centered global economy. We are seeing a strong focus on social entrepreneurship, impact investments, and human transformation in new global economy. But before we move on to the talk itself, allow me to take a moment to unpack these terms. Social entrepreneurship, which is defined more or less narrowly in different countries, is a category of enterprise that defines the value it creates in terms of social and sustainability targets rather than by profit alone. Similarly, impact investment is investment in projects and enterprises that seeks to make a difference in the world. For example, in alignment with the UN Sustainable Development Goals. And lastly, when we speak of human transformation in new global economy, we are referring to the fact that our globalized and interconnected world is transforming the way people live and work with great potential for positive change and financial inclusion. Our guest today has vast experience and knowledge in these areas. It's our privilege to welcome Dr. Ingrid Vassiliou Feltes, the founder and CEO of the Science, Enterprise, Entrepreneurship and Investment Institute, as well as co-founder, chairwoman, and vice president of Innovation for Pharma Trade Network. Welcome, Dr. Ingrid. It's truly a great honor and pleasure to have you on India Power Talk. So may I request you to begin by talking about your background and how originally you became involved in such world-changing work?
Thank you. Yes, I have a more unusual career pathway. I started the first 20 years in healthcare and life sciences. I was first a clinician, then a researcher. Then I realized that it's important to understand all aspects of business. And after finishing my executive MBA, had the opportunity to get involved in healthcare administration, which I've continued over the last decade. But more importantly, throughout this time, I realized that it was very important to also stay in tune with the latest technological advances, and that led to the multiple certifications you were so kind to share at the beginning. I felt it was essential in order to drive innovation, to stay up to speed with the latest advances, to understand how technology can help us in healthcare and life sciences. And later on, I understood that it's important also to drive innovation, transformation, and the entrepreneurship ecosystem.
As mentioned in the introduction, Dr. Ingrid, you are the founder and co-founder of two very interesting companies. Uh, Please, could you tell us about the Science, Entrepreneurship and Investment Institute and the Pharma Trade Network for our audience?
Sure, thank you. The Institute for Science, Entrepreneurship and Investment was created because I truly believe in our vision. And that is that we aim to be the main catalyst for scientific and digitally driven entrepreneurship. That has been, as I mentioned, the hallmark of my career. And we aim to promote sustainable economic growth. Therefore, you see that we're involved internationally and work specifically with emerging markets such as Africa, India, Latam. And our mission is to produce state-of-the-art knowledge sharing and educational resources, which is why I was so excited to come to your show, because I think our missions are aligned. And we also wish to be the premier data intelligence, data analytics, and data-driven decision support partner for all stakeholders in the entrepreneurial ecosystem. We have to work together if we aim to change the paradigm. Our ethos in the Institute is that we believe in education. That has been throughout my career something that I always believed in. Knowledge sharing, like I already mentioned. And it's been a passion of mine to have a social impact. I only get involved in large scale projects that I feel have the opportunity to have global social impact. Then the pharma network, the Trade Pharma Network, there I have the opportunity to be a co-founder. Mm-hmm. And our team strongly believes that technological innovation combined with creativity can also make an immense difference in science and entrepreneurship around the world. And we aim to create a trustworthy and innovative cloud and tech-based platform that enables life science industries and specific healthcare partners of all kinds that belong to the life science ecosystem to use technology efficiently and to leverage it in order to create solutions that help us have a better global ecosystem.
The term impact investment and social entrepreneurship are often interpreted in different ways in different parts, regions of the world. Now, what are your definitions and how do you see those two terms, impact investments and social entrepreneurship?
What impact investment focuses on is to provide a specific class of assets that is also aiming to help all these social, cultural, and environmental issues that we're struggling with, such as those outlined by the United Nations SDG agenda. So impact investing is essential and complements social entrepreneurship, but it is an investment method. Social entrepreneurship speaks to our efforts to promote entrepreneurs, small businesses that are not for profit or for profit, but create, again, opportunities for us to impact social aspects such as poverty, lack of access to education, lack of access to finance, women empowerment, and all the other crucial elements that are, again, outlined in the United Nations SDG agenda.
I believe at some stage, invisibly, the impact investment and social entrepreneurship do converge. And fortunately, when we have the Sustainable Development Goals for the United Nations, that acts really as the backbone or the guiding principle for both these activities, I guess.
Absolutely, and I do agree with you. They converge quite a lot, and the one aspect that where I feel they converge the most is the human aspect. All along in all these efforts, we're helping humans have a better quality of life, hopefully, and for future generations to have a better quality of life. And we have a moral duty as a society to also track all these efforts, because I think we've made a lot of efforts to at least increase awareness, increase advocacy. Maybe in some countries even we have mandates now that require this type of impact investment, and that's great. But I think the next phase now, where we need to show that we really care and that we really mean it, is to have analytics that prove that we're truly impacting short and long term all these. It's not enough to just make a beautiful statement and say that
Absolutely.
we believe in it. Actually, technology that we mentioned a little bit so far, such as ledger technology and blockchain technology specifically, can help with some of these efforts, because we can have blockchain as a service that could actually address all these KPIs and can be the bridge and the gateway for all of us to work towards the same efforts.
Dr. Indir, you were recently awarded with the World Excellence Award for Social Entrepreneurship. Could you please tell us about the specific project and that convinced the judges?
I think that the multiple activities that I'm involved in for the World Business Forum led to that award. We are fortunate within the World Business Angel Investment Forum to offer not only the business school, but also a lot of educational and advocacy initiatives that span across the world. We're present in more than 137 countries, which gives us a global reach. We also have the Research Institute there that does important work, such as last year, we did a global survey on how the pandemic influenced women across the world that were business owners, small and medium business owners, and women entrepreneurs. We showed the disproportionate impact that the pandemic had, of course, on everybody, but on women even further, and children alike, as well as the various industries where entrepreneurship efforts were hit very hard by the pandemic. That was just one example. Additionally, because I'm the country director, as you so kindly mentioned at the beginning, I am responsible for promoting the entrepreneurship efforts that World Business Angel Investment Forum aims to build for the United States. Our partner here is the Government Blockchain Association, headquartered in Washington, D.C., and I think additionally, besides those that I mentioned, I was also part of several committees that the World Business Angel Investment Forum has, and each of them addresses actually some of the elements we already talked today about. One of our committees where I was very active helps startups all over the world have access to funding, focuses on financial inclusion, also on justice, to make sure that we promote equity for all when they try to get involved in building an entrepreneurship ecosystem. Then I was also involved in the ethics committee, and that's another element that I can't emphasize enough. When we talk about technology, when we talk about entrepreneurship, when we talk about promoting education, ethics is essential. And I was fortunate enough to work with our committee in WBF to develop some very important work there that can help entrepreneurs and companies alike understand how ethics can be weaved into the fabric of entrepreneurship ecosystems. Then I also had the chance to be part of the Science, Technology, and Innovation Committee. So that's, I think, the breadth and the whole spectrum of my activities maybe led to that award, if I had to guess.
Yeah, no, it was a well-deserved, I must say. You mentioned about the survey that you did about women entrepreneurship who suffered the pandemic and
Yes.
the impact. Could you just slightly tell us, our audience, as to what was the survey and what was the outcome, some highlights of the survey?
Like every other consulting agency that produced reports during and after the pandemic, we were able to confirm that even small, medium businesses and entrepreneurs across the world that are part of angel investment networks were very hardly hit. We showed that certain industries were hit more than others, of course. But then the aspect that I previously mentioned that you want me to elaborate on is the part that women were more impacted than anybody else. And specifically, women owners had to take care of other family members. That was one major issue, that they became the pillar for many other elements that happened during the pandemic, such as taking care of family members, taking care of the children, and not only physically, but also becoming the primary educator for the children. So they pure and simple in the survey reference that there was no time for them to take care of their business anymore. The second part that they referenced that was also a key finding, that they felt that access to funding was much more difficult for them than before. The third part that was evident in that survey is that women felt that they lacked some of the skills, the digital literacy and fluency that was so essential to survive in the pandemic.
Absolutely.
And they asked us for more access to training to have this kind of expertise and experience, so that in this globalized, digitalized, hyper virtualized world, they can also succeed.
Did you see a difference in the woman owners in the Western world versus the emerging world?
They were equally hit hard, but the proportion was different. So the percentage and the depth of financial difficulties was more, of course, prominent in emerging markets. But it also happened there are very strong data sets for the United States equally, and in Europe as well. So no country was spared and no industry was completely spared of that impact. But definitely the proportion was significant in emerging markets.
So is it fair to say that both impact investment and social entrepreneurship are about harnessing the power of business to improve the world and make the global economy more human-centered? Now, how would you envision applying this thinking in India?
I've been involved with several organizations in India, and you have amazing entrepreneurship going on, but I also feel that you need the right support. So I've had the opportunity to work with the Global Council for Promotion of International Trade. It is an independent, not-for-profit, non-partisan research organization dedicated to strengthening prosperity and human welfare in the global economy. So we work with lots of startups that are women-owned or not women-owned. It's across the board and all industries. And we help them with not only coaching, training, access to finance, education, making sure that they understand how to interact with other global markets, learn from each other. So peer-based learning is a very important aspect for us. Of course, the general mission of the organization is to implement also major national strategies and promote foreign trade. So at a larger, higher level, we also encourage organizations from different countries to work with us and help the startups.
You are involved in technological developments like blockchain, artificial intelligence, as well as healthcare and philanthropic work that you mentioned. How these fields are related, and which technologies have the greatest potential for the betterment of humankind?
Yes, well, I think that has been one of my preferences, and I always emphasize that science-driven innovation, science-driven transformation, science-driven entrepreneurship, and science-driven efforts in general for social impact, I feel they're important because when we look through the history, technology has been a strong driver, and it can drive success in multiple industries. I think it can also drive education, it can drive careers. And I feel that that's one of the levers we actually can influence by working together with science and technology institutes across the world, academic centers, with startups and scale ups, and creating incubators and accelerators that are centered around these institutes. I think it's been clearly proven that that's how you build strong entrepreneurship ecosystems and can move the needle in advancing economic growth. So I see science and technology as a catalyst, as a gateway, and I feel it's like at the center of a very large Venn diagram when we look at all the stakeholders that are required to change the paradigm in the global ecosystem.
India is a young country, and we have a very, very large pool of startups who could offer employment to the other large population of India. Now, and every state here and every college, every educational institution is trying to create an ecosystem like incubation centers or for developing entrepreneurship, or trying to give incentives, fiscal incentives, and a lot of other support, so that young generation can really stand on their own, be their own masters of their own, create employment, create growth, and help the economy. Now, could you, from your experience, share some of the quick tips, I would so as to say, on how to make it more robust and successful? I'm talking of these incubation centers or the ecosystem. In your experience, how can we make it more robust and successful?
Of course, creativity is very important, and that gives rise to entrepreneurship. But after the creative force, you also want to make sure you have the type of coaching and the type
Yes.
of mentorship that can guide you so that you stay successful. And learning from others that have done that before and successfully is priceless. That it's important to have the right coach, the right mentor, the right access to education, but not education only in the larger sense, but specifically financial instruments, business
Yes.
models. Also understanding what options do you have when you need to pivot. And during the pandemic, we saw the importance of being
Absolutely.
globally prepared, right?
Pandemic also has given us an opportunity to reboot the economy, to reboot the environment, and reboot the education system. Now, do you like what we have the United Nations Sustainable Goals? Do you think it makes sense for the global community to come up with a uniform, sort of an uniform educational model, which will really allow the citizens who are now communicating with each other, the next generation, to really grow and prosper and be more creative towards creating employment, or towards really becoming more a happier society?
I do believe, like you, that although the pandemic has left a tremendous economic and social impact, it also acted as a catalyst
Yes.
and a turbocharger, so to speak, for redefining, redesigning, recalibrating not only the economy, but also education, like you mentioned, and frankly, the healthcare ecosystem as well.
Yes.
So not only do I believe that a novel global educational ecosystem would be helpful, I think it's an imperative. Jobs will be completely changed. Some
Yes.
will disappear, new ones will appear, many will be automated or digitized, at least partially. So we need to educate our future generations completely different than we've ever had. That we have great human capital around the world, but if we don't upskill and reskill the workforce and future generations, it's going to be very difficult to survive in the digital era. It's essential for legal frameworks, regulatory guidelines, policy to catch up with technology so that we can actually make these changes.
So, Dr. Ingrid, you are truly outstanding a role model for people wishing to make a difference in the world, if I may say. And I think especially for girls and young women, what advice would you give to the women of all ages, and particularly of India or from the emerging economies?
So I would encourage women and girls to, number one, believe in themselves and don't listen to anybody that can tell you something can't be done. Because I was told many times that I can't do 99.9% of the things that I'm doing now constantly. So believe in yourself, do what you think you need to do, get the coaching and mentorship. That is absolutely true. But keep with your idea, your passion, your beliefs, and go for it. The second one I would say that's equally important is keep your integrity and find your own path. So getting coaching and mentoring on science or technology or business is one, but you have to keep your integrity and develop your own type of personality and persona in business as well as in your personal life, of course. But in business, it's also important not to confuse coaching and mentoring for business with completely getting lost and trying to copy other people's path. That's not going to work. If you want long-term success, you need to find your own personal journey. And then the third one, I would say always strive to excel in everything you do, no matter what you do. I always joke that it doesn't matter if you like to put stickers on the wall, but you need to excel at that. You need to be the best. Because if you wake up every day and want to just be mediocre or just good enough, I don't think that's going to work for long-term success. And that's how you, I feel, can strive to impact other people's lives as well when you strive for excellence.
Dr. Ingrid, thank you so much. And there's so much to listen from you, but with the time constraints, we'll have to, I guess, stop here. So, Dr. Ingrid, thank you very much for your valuable time and insights. It has been a great pleasure talking to you. I would
Likewise.
thank you, Doctor. I would also like to thank the Wadhwani Foundation, Indo-American Chamber of Commerce, as well as the Indian Chamber of Commerce, LawSeco, and the India SME Accelerator Network. Let me conclude with a humble prayer to the Almighty to bestow mankind the right spirit to fight the coronavirus and help restore peace, prosperity, and well-being.